exact figure is $52,353,766. Sounds like a lot. Guess what? It actually is a lot. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also happen to offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, the other two teams in town that I cover. And I hope you'll take the time to check those out as well. The NFL's salary cap world can be grossly convoluted when you get into all the microscopic stuff. But when you go macro on it, it's pretty basic. The teams that have the most money have the most money. And the Steelers figure that I just read to you, that $52 million thing, that's the ninth most of any of the league's 32 franchises. So the question becomes, obviously, what do the Steelers, who are not usually in this position, they've entered off seasons in the recent past with less than $10 million at times. What does Omar Khan do with this money? And I say this while deliberately ignoring that he could access even more cap space by reworking some existing contracts, an action that he hasn't taken since last summer with Alex Highsmith. Well, let's start here because I know where your mind is wandering right away. The Bengals have $47 million, which means the Bengals are, in fact, equipped should there be a mutual desire to bring back T. Higgins. So stop that now. My feeling all along has been that Higgins will be back, that the Bengals might as well give Joe Burrow away if they can't keep both Higgins and Jamar Chase. They've lost others along the way, but they can't lose those two. So scratch that one. And really, as I was saying on yesterday's show on the subject of the Steelers finding playmaking wide receivers, they just don't do things like this. They don't go and pay $20-30 million per year to someone at that position. I'm not sure I would either. Get them while they're young and hungry and before they go full-on diva. So, yeah, still $52 million sitting on that table. How about Justin Fields? How much of that's going to go to him? I see, hear, and read, including from some of you, all kinds of opinions about how this is what they should do with Fields and this is what he should accept. I'd be okay if he got some sort of prove-it deal. Well, there's a problem with that type of thinking, and that's that the other person has to see it the same way. If you're Fields, and you know there are 32 teams total out there, and that you play the most important position in the sport, that you're only 26 years old and you have all the tools, what would compel you to just take whatever it is that the Steelers offer? So I'm not seeing any scenario, anything like that. I do think you're going to see the Steelers have to step up with a fair market offer. And given Fields' status, meaning where he stands now after the past two seasons between Chicago and Pittsburgh, I'm thinking you could pull off something in the range of 2 years, $10 million each. Does that seem fair both ways? Because remember, the other thing you don't want to do if you're Fields is you don't want to take something that's super long term where you know that if you show really, really well next season, you could have offers that would be many times that figure, possibly including from the Steelers themselves. But yeah, for now, I'm going to stick with the 10, okay? Which leaves 40. Now, you can bring up the TJ Watt extension that's absolutely positively going to happen, but I'll remind that such an extension wouldn't likely have much, possibly not any, impact on this figure because TJ's already signed through next season. And he signed at a rate that it really isn't going to change much in one direction or the other. So I'm still looking at 40 there, okay? I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to pay a running back from somewhere. It could be the draft. It might not be the draft. But again, my feel is that wide receiver would be better addressed through the draft. Maybe the Steelers don't see it that way. And what you don't want to do is have two vital starting positions on offense go to rookies. Maybe get a running back who's got at least a few miles and some experience to him. Now, as we also know, running backs don't really get paid all that much anymore. So what's left? 35? How about a corner? Outside corner, nickel corner while you're there. Somebody to compete with Beanie Bishop, since clearly Mike Tomlin and staff don't fully believe in him for whatever reason. Along the way, make sure that you're bringing back guys who need to be brought back. Basic, fundamental pieces like Landon Roberts. But you kind of see where this is going, right? There's a lot of money there. There's a lot of space there. This has been known, by the way, and foreseen for some time. There was a point just a few months ago where the Steelers had the most projected cap space heading into the 2025 season. And I honestly feel like there's even more to be picked up as this goes. More players are going to depart, some of them with significant cap hits. Some will stick around, but they'll stick around at lower rates. Long way to go on this front, but it's something I feel like it's worth planting that seed now, if only to set the expectations where they should be. I have a feeling still, because of the sting of the way those last few games of the collapse, and especially in Baltimore, went, that there's this, oh no, it's the end of the world for this team from the roster standpoint. I think it's a real downer that you're not going to see any changes at all in terms of coaches, schematics, processes, anything. But the roster is still very much in a position where a lot of stuff can happen. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Aaron Kelly, and boy, did I see this one coming. Why not get Cooper Kupp in free agency? Somebody who knows how to get open and come back to the quarterback. Kupp came up quite a bit, you'll recall, around the period of the trade deadline. And even though I'm not one to entertain stuff like that, hypothetical scenarios and whatever too often, it had become known that there was at least a possibility that the Rams would move him. So given the urgency, the seeming urgency anyway, of the time, I actually invested an entire episode in all the reasons that Kupp should be brought to Pittsburgh. At which point, Kupp and the Rams kissed and made up. They kept him, and you saw whatever, not much came of it, meaning their season. And for anybody who missed it, yesterday, Kupp was the one who told everybody on social media that the Rams have let him know that they're moving on. Would I take Kupp on this roster? I mean, my position wouldn't have changed from what it was just a couple months ago. I think in a lot of ways, he's exactly what the Steelers need. And I believe that more now than I did then, if only because then I was referring to how he'd fit in a Russell Wilson offense. I think he would do even better in a Justin Fields offense, principally because, my goodness, all those times that Fields can get out of trouble and go to his right or go to his left and then look up and not see and or not trust anything that he's looking at. One of the things that crossed my mind so often through those first 6 starts that he made was, man, if he just had somebody coming back to the ball, or just getting open and coming back to the ball and catching it and getting extra yards, and all of that is the Kupp trademark. So yeah, I'd go and get him. Yeah, I'm not going to make this, I swear, some 6-month same subject screed where it's just every day is, wow, wide receiver, because I did that all last summer. And it ended up being a waste of everyone's time, my own included. They waited forever to bring Mike Williams in, and then once they got Williams, he wins a game for them in Landover, and then they wait forever to use him again. all of which would have made sense if you at least turned the passing game over to Pat Freiermuth, and that didn't happen until near the end of the season. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to find what I think is a foundational stance as it relates to this offense, and then to continuously express it with even further information and evidence to support your case, and then just keeps blowing up on you. Well, that doesn't mean that the stance is wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong. I think it means that they just haven't done enough. Tell you what, though, you go and get Kupp, and Kupp finds a way to stay on the field more than he has in Los Angeles, a lot can be forgiven. A lot. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget, we also have the Double Shot Show this afternoon at 5 p.m., and we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow morning.